Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session that talks about the secret ingredient to all soft skills abilities. My name is Ilanit Freeman, and I will walk you through this session. I would like to begin with a very famous poem written by Robert Frost. I won't read all of it, just the beginning and the end, and here it is how it starts. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. And here is the end. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. The reason I brought this poem is because what I'm about to show you is the road less travelled by. Let us begin. I would like to speak about the AAA traffic light method, which I have been developing for over 18 years. It's AAA because A stands for awareness, accountability, and action. And traffic light is because red requires stopping and observing, yellow requires getting ready for what's coming, and green is action. Let's do something about what we've learned. So here's our project manager. And as a project manager, he faces many, many challenges. Challenges like too much risk. Maybe the schedule is impossible. Possibly the team is not engaged enough, or there are too many contradicting interests. Maybe he feels that there is no backing or support. Possibly the budget is too small. And maybe he feels that the prices that this guy is paying is just too high. So what we've just seen is just the tip of the iceberg, because these are things that we are facing on our everyday life at work. This is our work, this is our job, and we need to handle all these things. However, what I would like to suggest, and this is why I'm saying it's the road less taken by, is because we don't need to only look at the things that are on top of the surface, but also look underneath and see what else is affecting our lives. And this is where awareness is coming into the game. And I would like to suggest 3 things that we need to be aware of. Let's start with the first one. Our body. Let's say that we go into a very, very important meeting, but we attend that meeting when we are too hungry or too tired. It's our body talking, yes? And you can imagine that we cannot possibly be at our best performance in that very important meeting if our body is not at its best way. But there's also health issues that we might be facing. Look at our project manager. On top of everything else that we've seen before that he's coping with, he might be coping with some health issues, things like strokes or heart attacks, cholesterol, fatigue, infections or headaches, allergies, high blood pressure, insomnia, digestive problems, shortness of breath. All these are health issues that, sometimes are very severe, like strokes and heart attacks, and sometimes maybe not as obvious, like cholesterol or high blood pressure. However, these are things that are affecting us. And it just might be that this guy is going into a meeting after the day before he went to the doctor, and the doctor told him that he's got, say, high blood pressure, okay? So this thing is bothering him. It's in somewhere in his mind, okay? He needs that, it's something else that he needs to take care of. So obviously, He cannot be 100%, even though he might think that he is 100% in that meeting, but somewhere at the back of his head, something is bothering him. We do need to pay attention to these things because it just adds to the weight. But that's not all. The next thing we need to be aware of is our feelings. Now, as professionals, we are used to putting our feelings aside and handling matters in a very logical way. We all know that if we start involving our emotions, nothing good can come out of it. However, and this is very, very important, our feelings are there, whether we are aware of them or not. Whether we try to hide them and bury them and put them aside, they are still there and they are affecting us. Because look at our project manager, okay? He might be suffering from stress or pressure. He might be feeling angry or fed up with either the job or something that happened to him at home. He might be nervous or disappointed with something. He might feel depression or desperation. He might feel anxiety or frustration. And these are just examples, obviously. There's so many other feelings that can affect us. What we need to understand that the feelings are there, and like it or not, they add to the pressure, they add to the weight that we're carrying. And the more weight we have on us, the more things we need to cope with, the less we can be at our best. The last thing we need to pay attention to and be aware of is what I call limiting beliefs. What are limiting beliefs? But there are thoughts that are belittling us, that are criticizing us, that are accusing us, that are telling us you're not good enough. These are beliefs that are stopping us from becoming the successful people that we want to be. Now, I want to just very, very shortly explain how limiting beliefs are formed. Things that we hear in our childhood are staying with us throughout our lives, and we grow up believing these things. So for instance, if somebody tells me when I'm a child that they cannot trust me, especially if it's somebody close, a teacher, a parent, another relative, people we depend on. Remember, as children, we depend on these people and we believe them. It is an automatic reaction that is expected. It's very human to believe the people we depend on. So if somebody tells me that they cannot trust me, I will grow up to believe that I'm not to be trusted. And therefore, I will be scared to take, for instance, a project that requires a lot of responsibility. I will only stay at very, very small things. I will not try to grow. I will not try to become a senior manager. I will stay at the level of junior. Okay. The second way that limiting beliefs are formed are interpretations. Now, I have put here these images because you might know them, but the reason I put them here is because if you look closely at each one of them, you will see that you can see each one in two different ways at least. And what do we learn from it? What we learn from it is that sometimes things are said to us, but we understand them in a different way, especially as children, but also as adults, okay? For instance, if somebody tells me as a child or in my youth, oh, you didn't understand what I said, you don't understand, I might understand from that what they are actually saying in between the lines is that I'm stupid. Okay. And I will grow up believing that I'm stupid. They didn't tell me I was stupid. They only said, you don't understand. But I interpreted that and I thought to myself, it must mean that I am stupid. The third way limiting beliefs are formed is repeated thoughts. if we think the same thought over and over and over again, we will end up actually believing that this is the truth. The thing with limiting beliefs is that they are always there whenever we arrive at a junction, whenever we arrive at a place where we need to make a decision, the limiting belief will be there, okay? Now, we might want to choose one way, okay, because we know that this way would lead us to success. We know that this way would lead us to where we want to go. But the limiting belief will be there and say, no, 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 you cannot take that way. You're not good enough. You don't deserve to be successful. You're unworthy. You cannot take that way. It's not for you. So it will force you to take the other way. Okay? Speaking of two roads diverged in a wood, which we started with a poem at the beginning. So it will force you to take the way you don't want to take, or the way that you know would lead you to live a very small life and very unsatisfied life. But it is there. And the problem is that the limiting belief will make the decision for you. Another thing with the limiting beliefs is that it works as an onion, okay? So once you peel one layer, underneath it, you will find another layer. So if we have our project manager here at the top, okay, he might be thinking that he's working really, really hard on this project, but then nobody appreciates his work. And if you peel that, he might be thinking, maybe nobody appreciates my work because I don't do my job good enough. And maybe if I don't do my job good enough, it actually means that I am not good enough. And if I am not good enough, maybe actually means that I'm a failure. And here we've seen a list of limiting beliefs that you peel one, you get to another, you peel another, you get to another, until you get to the root belief, which is I'm a failure. Now, this is what is recognized today as impostor syndrome. Impostor syndrome, I will just read to you what's written in Wikipedia. And this is how it is defined. Impostor syndrome is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments, and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Now think about it. Think how hard this is if somebody doesn't believe that he's at the right place because he deserves to be at the right place, and they're always scared that he will be exposed. Somebody is about to find out that he is fraud. Can you imagine the weight that he's carrying? Let's continue. Despite external evidence of their competence, those experiencing this phenomenon remain convinced that they are frauds and do not deserve all they have achieved. Individuals with imposterism incorrectly attribute their success to luck or interpret it as a result of deceiving others into thinking they are more intelligent than they perceive themselves to be. Can you imagine the weight that they are carrying? Now, we've spoken about our bodies and our feelings and our limiting beliefs. And I want to show you that these things are actually affecting one another. Let's imagine a person who, no matter how successful he is, and he might be in a very, very high position, but he still underneath believes that he's a failure. So if he needs to go into a meeting and he needs to meet somebody who in his eyes is a lot more successful than his, he might be even superior to this guy. So what's going to happen that he will enter the meeting feeling very, very small. And if he's suffering from imposterism, then that will add more to the pressure, because he will sit there thinking, oh my God, he's going to find out, he's going to discover, he's going to know, and I'm going to be thrown out, I'm going to be fired, etc., etc. And what a shame it's going to be, etc., etc. It is very, very stressful. He might be feeling, in addition to the stress and fear and worry, he might also feel envious at this guy that he is successful. What does this guy have that I don't? Why is he successful and I'm not? Okay, so these feelings are there, and they are, whether, obviously, I'm sure that he's learned to try and push them aside, but they are there. Okay, and they are affecting his body. He might be suddenly have a headache or sweat or shortness of breath. His chest might close up. So everything closes up, and he feels that he cannot speak, he cannot present what he's trying to say in the best way possible. In this situation, you understand that he cannot be at his best performance. He cannot be the best project manager. He cannot lead his team the best way possible, because all this is going on inside him. So on top of everything else, that all the challenges that he's got with the project anyway, he's got these three things that he needs to cope with. And this is why I'm saying that we do need to be aware of these things and not push them aside, and not think that we are of ourselves, that we are only professionals, because we are professionals, but we're also humans. Okay, now some of the things we cannot control, but other things we can control. Okay, we may not be able to control the budget or the contradicting interests in the project. We may not be able to control the schedule or the risk. However, we can control the reactions of our bodies. We can control our feelings, and not just by pushing them aside, but by recognizing them and know how to deal within that. We can control our limiting beliefs. Okay, these are things that are in our hands. Yes, we need to learn how to do that, but it helps us because it relieves the weight. All right, it takes off some of the challenges that we're facing. And this is why it is so important to accept that this is a key to success, to happiness, to satisfaction. Okay, so now we know what we need to be aware of. The second step would be accountability. I know that as project managers, we are all extremely responsible people. Okay, we take responsibility sometimes for hundreds of people and millions of dollars. Okay, however, the reason I put this here is because taking responsibility for our lives is a completely different ballgame. Why is that? Let's go back to the example of the limiting belief of I'm a failure. Who really wants to admit to themselves or others that what they feel inside is that they're a failure? Nobody really wants to admit that. Nobody wants to see that, right? It is very, very difficult. And that is why I'm saying that for accountability, for taking responsibility for our lives, we need courage. We need more courage than taking the biggest project you could ever imagine. Okay, we need to look the truth in the eye. We need to understand what is in us, what is motivating us, what is running us, what is making us behave the way we do, what is making us feel the way we do, and sometimes think the way we do, what is affecting our relationships, etc., etc. If we want to keep growing, we do need to look into these things. And I would like to suggest, if you are courageous enough, Action Plan Part 1. You see this chart. I know that it looks very, very simple to fill in, but take a week, take 2 weeks, take a month, and describe different situations that you've been through during that time, and describe what happened. Who was it with? Where was it? When was it? What was your reaction? How powerful was your reaction? And always ask yourselves the golden question, why? Now, why is this chart important? Because it will give you a clue to patterns that you're having, okay? For instance, you might discover that you are a morning person, okay? Which means in the morning you have more patience and you are more able to tolerate difficult situations. And then if you know that you're a morning person, then and you know through filling this chart that there is somebody that you don't feel very comfortable with. Doesn't matter why, but you know you don't feel comfortable. Okay, your body tells you that you don't feel comfortable. Okay, your body will have this rejection, this objection to getting into the room with that person. Okay, and you will know that by filling in this chart. Okay, so if you have to meet this person, then you might decide to schedule the meeting in the morning, because in the morning you are in a better mood. Okay, so these are little things that are that make a great big difference in our actions, in our reactions, in our relationships with people. Okay, it makes a big difference. Okay, say that person you don't feel comfortable with, you have a meeting with him in the morning and you're more patient. Okay, so you sit there and he feels that it is much easier to speak with you. It is much easier to pass on a message to you. Whereas if you had the meeting in the afternoon or in the evening, he would know because you're rejecting him anyway. So you would reject his ideas. You wouldn't want to listen to him. Okay. Also check your when I say how powerful your reactions are, I mean, did you overreact to the situation or did you underreact to the situation? These are also very, very important things. Okay. And as I said before, ask yourselves the question, why? Any child can ask that. It's a golden question and it gives you a lot of answers. However, and here is a warning, and it's a serious warning. Okay. We all tend to judge ourselves. Okay. We all tend to criticize ourselves. Oh, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I overreact? Why did I underreact? I should have said this. I should have done that. Please, this is a very, very serious warning. When you fill in the chart and when you ask yourselves why, the why should be because you want to learn, observe, okay? We're not here to judge ourselves. We are here to learn our patterns. We are here to learn how we are coping with things so that we can improve. So don't ask yourselves, why did I do that? That wasn't good. I should have done something different. Only ask, why did I react the way I did? And then try to feel what happened. Why did I do that? Because I felt guilty, because I felt little, because I felt scared, because I thought that they might expose my imposterism. Okay? So when you ask yourselves why, this is the why. This is how you should ask yourselves why. And also don't forget that we need persistence, okay? We need courage and persistence to find out these things because not always it is easy to find. Remember, we need to dig deep in order to get to them. After we've done all that, our next step obviously is taking action. When I speak of action, I speak about two things, let go and embrace. And let's see why. Let go, we'll say it very shortly. You must have heard about the law of attraction, which means that you attract to yourself the things that you think, okay? Believe and you shall receive, all right? So we've learned in books and workshops and courses and meditations and different ways, we've learned that We need to think success and then we'll be successful. We need to think happy and then we'll be happy. We need to think prosperity and then we'll be prosperous, etc., etc. However, all these are on the surface, okay? If I think success, but inside I believe that I'm a failure, what will I attract to myself? A failure, right? So what if what I actually believe is this? I am not good enough. I am useless. I am unworthy. I am a failure. Do you understand that what's going to happen is that what you will attract is this? It's not the success and prosperity and health and happiness. It's this. These are the kind of relationships that you will have both in the house, at home, in your private life, and in your professional life. This is the kind of projects that you will attract to yourself, okay? Projects that are highly unlikely to succeed. Because this is what you actually believe, not what's on top. And therefore, the things to let go of are these. And obviously, once we let go of something, there is a void. And a void needs to be filled in with something, okay? So we need to embrace something instead. And therefore, there is action plan part 2 for you. I'm not going to go through all this chart. These are just examples, but let's just say that you've been really good and you filled in the chart in action plan part 1, okay? And you found out that there is a pattern that you always have the need to be right, okay? Now, I assure you that if you dig deep, you will find underneath that pattern a limiting belief. And the need to be always right is something that destroys relationships. Why? Because people see you as somebody who is very stubborn, somebody who always has to justify himself, somebody who is always arguing with everyone, somebody who doesn't listen, etc., etc. Okay? So if you have the need to be right, maybe what you should embrace instead in order to improve relationship is to listen to other people. I'm not saying, listen carefully, I'm not saying that you have to accept their opinions. I'm just saying that maybe what you should embrace is listen to them, okay? Just listen. Now imagine the kind of relationship, imagine the dynamics that is developing if you just listen. Even if you don't accept their opinion, you don't have to accept their opinion, okay? But just by listening, you're creating a situation whereby people feel more comfortable with you, okay? So you're more than welcome to just think, what are the things we need to let go of and what are we choosing to embrace instead? Now I will say that generally speaking, any problematic behavioral problems we should let go of, and what we should embrace instead is the steps of awareness, accountability, and action. Now, remember, once again, as I said before, it takes time, okay? That's why we need persistence. And remember that practice makes perfect, okay? Don't expect things to change immediately. It doesn't happen like that, okay? But it does change over time. It does change over time once we are aware of what is going on, of what we're doing, of our actions, our reactions, our feelings, etc., etc. So we've gone through the AAA traffic light method. AAA, we've gone through awareness, and I said that we need to be aware of 3 things. BFL, which is our body and health, feelings and limiting beliefs. We spoke about accountability, which is CP, courage and persistence. And I talked about action, which is LE, let go and embrace. When you take the AAA steps, when you take these steps, okay, This is what people see in you. They see more humanity, authenticity, integrity, credibility, reliability, leadership, truth, and, believe it or not, also beauty. Now, I believe that you are already these things. Okay? I am sure that all these things exist in you already. However, when you take these steps, these things are becoming stronger. Okay? It's like they shine, they come out, and people see that. And do you know how it affects them? This is how it affects them. Okay? It gives them a lot more motivation. They want to collaborate with you. They want to follow your lead. They are identifying with you and with what you do. And if what you do is managing a project, they will identify with a project because it is you. Okay? They will appreciate you a lot more. There will be a lot more loyalty and trust. Okay? So this is how it affects the relationships that you're having at work, but also at home with your family. Obviously, there is so much more to say about these subjects, but in this short session, I have only brought the very, very basic principles, and I hope very much that you have enjoyed and gained something from listening to this lecture. I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I did, and good luck.